Thune had a Herculean task in getting this reconciliation bill across the finish line. He was balancing a speaker who was begging him not to change a bill, a Senate Republican conference that wanted to change a bill. He had a lot of people who were skittish about the bill. So yes, on that front, he was in very good shape. Now on the political side, I think things are a little bit more rocky for him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer.
And I'm Jake Sherman.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Friday, July 11th, 2025. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, we've got a Senate leader look, a temperature check on how Thune and Schumer are doing. Number two, Trump amps up the pressure on the rescissions package. And number three, we've got some new fundraising numbers down in Texas. All right, Jake, let's get into it. We are focusing our AM on a regular feature we do, a leader look, kind of a bed check on how does everybody think each of the leaders are doing. This week, we are featuring Senate Majority Leader John Thune and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Will take on the House leaders next Friday. But let's just kind of wrap here about Thune. I think he's looking like he is having a pretty good 6 months right now. If you are John Thune, you got over the biggest hurdle, very complicated reconciliation package. You've held together. Your relationship with Donald Trump is looking strong. I mean, I feel like he's leaving town this week feeling like, things are looking pretty good.
Yeah, plus he did that big Instagram video of him taking doing a flip off of a boat on his July 4th recess. So I don't know if you caught that, Anna, but
I'm going to go look at this right now afterwards, but he is an athlete. That much we both know. He runs. He's always, he's looking good.
Listen, it must be an upper Midwest thing. Maybe you'll get it as you're a North Dakotan and he's a South Dakotan. No, not because you age, because you're a North Dakotan and he's a South Dakotan. Maybe you'll flip off a boat one day. Thune had a Herculean task in getting this reconciliation bill across the finish line. He was balancing a speaker who was begging him not to change a bill, a Senate Republican conference that wanted to change a bill. He had a lot of people who were skittish about the bill. So yes, on that front, he was in very good shape. Now on the political side, I think things are a little bit more rocky for him.
Yeah. That's a good point.
But I'll say this. It's not only he's got to go sell this thing. Which, it's only July of 2025. He's got until, November of 2025. And listen, it's a lot in the Senate. It's a lot less centralized about how, senators are going to run their own races. But think about where he is on the political side. John Cornyn has a very serious primary challenge from Ken Paxton. Although Ken Paxton yesterday, it was funny. We wrote this big story in Midday. It was a massive scoop for us. Donald Trump had a meeting with Thune. What is today? Today's Friday, so it would have been
on
Wednesday night. Yeah, Wednesday night in the Oval Office, and they talked about Senate races, including Cornyn's. And the White House basically said they want to see if the gap between Cornyn and Paxton closed before deciding how to engage in that race in the great state of Texas. And then as we were pushing send, literally as we were pushing send, news came out that Ken Paxton's wife was filing for divorce in a pretty bombshell way. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But there's also Susan Collins, whether she runs for re-election, Joni Ernst, whether she runs for re-election, Tom Tillis retired, who they're going to get to run in Tom Tillis's district, Tom Tillis's state of North Carolina, not a district. In Georgia, they don't have a top-tier candidate right now because the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, has said he's not interested in running for the Senate. I mean, think about the pitch, Anna, running for the Senate. Come with us. You're going to be a backbencher, and there are these voteramas where you have to stay up for 40 hours. How does that sound to you? So yeah, on the political side, things are a bit more shaky. And next week, he's got to deal with the rescissions package. And Trump has said, anybody who votes against the rescissions package will not have my endorsement in 2020. Well, ever, I guess. He didn't even mention it was 2026. So, strong at the moment, but he's got some
headwinds.
He's got some stuff he's got to deal with. Yeah.
He's got some headwinds. I mean, you made some really good points there, Jake. I think what you can't do is kind of underestimate the amount of effort that Republicans are going to need to do when it comes to selling this package, right? You've got the White House saying that. Thune clearly in the interview that's in this morning's edition talks about that. They need to get out there, talk about I mean, he's not just trying to sell the things that are tax cuts and tax on tips, but talking about Medicaid cuts, talking about SNAP cuts. Republicans are trying to figure out how to be on offense there. And the political situation is going to be really interesting to see. Candidates matter, especially in these statewide races. Thune knows that better than anybody, and we'll have to see how they can do on the recruitment end. Let's shift over to Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. He's had a tough 6 months. I mean, when it came to government funding, got really beat up on that. With reconciliation, Democrats tried to, lob some aggressive, amendments in the Votorama and things like that. But, they weren't really in the game. And things are going to come up pretty fast for him when it comes to the midterm election, when it comes to government funding. All eyes and Democrats, without a president in the office, without a strong DNC, are looking to Chuck Schumer to be a leader. And the question is, will he be able to fill those shoes?
Yeah, he has been on going back to the government funding fight, he was on a different page than Hakeem Jeffries. Jeffries led the fight against that funding package back, that was a while ago now, but and Schumer let it pass and whipped up votes to have it pass. Now, Schumer did a round robin type deal of interviews yesterday, which Andrew and Max went to, and he's making the case that the I don't know what we're going to call the one big beautiful bill going forward. I've had suggestions of people yesterday on our brown bag, Anna, which was great. We had like hundreds of people. It's amazing. Someone said OB3 is the way to call it.
I feel like that feels like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well,
I'm not quite sure that one sticks.
I don't know. I'm fine with that. I think Mike Simpson, I made fun of him on this podcast, calling it the O triple B. So I don't know. I guess OB3 is fine. He was talking about how the reconciliation law puts Republicans majority at risk. He said it affects people right where it hurts. Losing your health care, horrible. Costs going up dramatically because of this bill. People losing their jobs, he said. So, the table is set. But listen, he's got it. 26 is a tough re-election cycle for Senate Democrats. And then he's got to decide whether he's running again, which we don't touch in the item, but that's going to be something that is going to be people are going to be very interested in that. And Schumer's now got the big decision on how he handles in 80 something days, how he handles the funding thing. Right now he's saying our goal is to pursue the bipartisan approach process. Well, we'll probably talk about this in a second, or we'll talk about the newsletter, but the bipartisan appropriations process is in the middle of incinerating itself.
Yeah, falling apart. I'm not quite sure.
Doesn't look that good at the moment. And then also just the last thing is his own New York City mayor election.
Right.
Chuck Schumer has taken he's a big figure in New York State and New York City, specifically politics. He's from Brooklyn, and he hasn't decided what to do about Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee for mayor of New York City. He has not endorsed Mamdani, excuse me. And I don't know whether neither has Jeffries, by the way, neither has Greg Meeks, the congressman from Queens and the chair of the Queens Democratic Party. So they've got a big decision point ahead of them.
All right, Jake, let's move on to the number 2 story of the morning. We have been talking about this Recision Package, $9 billion, Senate Republicans, many leery of voting for it. We've been wondering, or I've been wondering, honestly, when does Donald Trump engage? Well, that has happened. He has entered stage right. And, to me, the big question here is he is laying down the gauntlet, saying you need to vote for these defunding, particularly the public broadcasting provisions, which there have been a lot of skepticism from some rural senators or who represent rural states who say, these public broadcasting systems are not putting on, political commentary, but they're the only way for some of their constituents to get information. So far, Trump has really defied gravity. His ability to put pressure on, to turn both House Republicans and senators to support initiatives that they otherwise probably might not, has been, I think, extremely effective. Where do you think this goes? I mean, it's Friday. The Senate Republicans have until Friday, and this is going to be a big test. Not only, does Trump engage more than just putting out something on X or Truth Social, or, does he actually engage even more aggressively?
Yeah, I know you know this, but next Friday is when they have a week to get this done.
Next Friday, sorry, yeah. I'm just excited it's Friday, Jake. Let's just be honest.
You know that it's a Friday, so the Senate is not in Washington in any way, shape, or form. Here's the thing. I was talking to someone at the White House about this the other day. The Senate Republicans are going to change this rescissions package. And I think the White House would be wise to understand that there are people for whom this is a bad vote. Not because they hate Trump, not because they are anti-Trump or rhinos. I mean, certainly, like, I think you spoke to Mike Rounds earlier this week. He had some reservations about this. He was at a Punchbowl News event. Susan Collins, a lot of people have reservations because politics is complicated. and what's good for Alabama or Georgia or Kentucky or, Mississippi is not necessarily good for North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana. So public broadcasting is a critical link in many parts of the country. And I understand people don't think that money should be going to PBS or NPR and people view them, or the White House views them, as anti-Trump, but like, things aren't that simple. So my base case here, and I could be wrong, but is that, and this seems to resonate, the White House seems to agree on this, and I think they even so the White House seems to agree on this, is that this will be changed, the Senate will pass it, and the House will have to swallow it. And making it a loyalty test, that's what Trump is like apt to do. But like, listen, they've kind of laid off Brian Fitzpatrick for voting against the reconciliation package because it's not good for his district. It's not good for his political standing in his district. It's just, sometimes it's like, it's not good for you, and you got to just understand that. So it's probably not going to look like the way the White House delivered it to Capitol Hill, and that may be okay for some people, but we'll have to see if the White House takes that view or whether they go, bananas over the contours of this thing and whether it's having it stay exactly the same.
We shall see. We'll be covering it all next week. Let's move to the number 3 story of the morning. We've got some news here. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton will report raising $2.9 million during the second quarter of 2025 for his Senate bid. That's a big number, Jake, in this tight race between Paxton and Senator John Cornyn. He launched that challenge in early April and has consistently led Cornyn in public and private polling. You made a nod to the announcement that his wife made about seeking a divorce on biblical grounds, is how she described it. But still, Paxton is a formidable opponent here against Cornyn.
Oh, big time. There's not going to be a lack of money in this thing. This race is going to be well funded probably on both sides, definitely on Cornyn's side. And the hard dollars, which is what we're talking about here, $2.9 million, only part of the story. Obviously, super PACs, SLF, I'm sure will get involved. They've said, I think they're going to get involved. I don't know if they're going to spend their own money. They're going to spend, I don't know how that's going to break down, but people are going, the establishment is going to be with Cornyn, and many insurgent forces are going to be with Paxton. I think this is one of the most interesting races in the country. And the interesting thing is, the White House has pushed the Texas legislature to redistrict the congressional map, and that'll have several important dynamics there, which is, number one, if seats become more Democratic, some Republican seats become more Democratic, I think a lot of Democrats will come out for the general election, which could be a big deal. And number two, I wonder, and I don't know this, but I wonder if the redistricting will push back that March primary to May. There's some buzz about that already, but I don't know how that's going to shake out. But goodness gracious, Anna, Texas is one of the most important and interesting political states right now. I'm really looking forward to covering this over the next couple months.
Yeah, and as Allie knows, it's just important, as you know, there's going to be no shortage of money here. She knows the super PAC supporting Cornyn's effort said it's raised nearly $11 million. So it is going to be a lot of money in a big state. Certainly Democrats watching really closely as well.
For sure.
We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for listening, for watching. We appreciate it. If you like the Daily Punch, share it on social media. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You can also go deeper on all things Punchbowl News at punchbowl.news. Sign up for our free morning newsletter. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.